Good evening, you lovely people. Well. What are they trying to do now? So just a bit of background. Back in the day, when they were doing all this with the bird flu, there was also in the background something called Codex Alimentarius, and that came into force 31st of December 2012. Now, Codex Alimentarius is all about the control of food. It's about the control of growing your own food. It's about the control of even collecting rainwater on your own property. In the 10 years, you can see when they're building the new housing estates, everything's trapped in your contract. You can't do this, you can't do that. You might get a mortgage on the property, but you don't own the property. They're telling you what's what. You've had all this food outlet rating by the councils. Basically, what you've not been seeing is that this is the councils putting a new system in of their own control that they control, all about food. Okay, so that's what all this nonsense has been about: this food rating, this inspections, etc., etc. And another one that you need to focus is the sell-by date. Now, we all know that the sell-by dates are way too soon. The food isn't off. And the wastage that's come off that is just phenomenal. We know this, that's what we know. But when you start to put this together, there's a reason why they're doing this. Because they want to control all food. And of course, they're going to try and use the vaccine passport in order to starve you to death. Unless you take this poison. We've already lost our title as a nation of shopkeepers. Because all the shopkeepers, the baby boomers, sold it out. They sold it out. We no longer are a nation of shopkeepers. We no longer have petrol stations. All right. So this is what I'm saying. I mean, I've talked about this for years, but back then it was so far out of the picture for people. You're just not having it. And even today, for most people, they haven't got the capacity to actually correlate this information and put it together. But since Israel decided to stop anybody doing anything without this ridiculous COVID passport, naturally then the military wing of Israel, the BBC, the military propaganda outlet, has jumped on this for propagandising it, setting the scene for you, but also it's trying to scare you to death to get you to take this first shot. So that's basically the game. They want everybody, as many as they can, to get this first shot. Their aim is a third of the population to get it, okay? And let's be honest, all the numpties, all the dimwits, all the drug addicts, all the simpletons that are putting holiday before, oh, am I going to die and who's going to look after my kids? You know what I'm saying? The real retards, the stupid, dumb people, they're the ones that have gone with this because they don't want to be stopped doing anything. Well, by taking it, you're allowing them to have that power. Anyway, so the BBC on the 15th of February by Dougal Shaw, so there we have a Bolshevik propagandist, says, there has been a concerning rise in food businesses operating out of people's home during lockdown, according to the Food Safety Watchdog. Yeah, everybody's in their house. They're in their house, you've got little Corona cop telling you can't do this, you can't do that, you must do this, you must do that, we're going to find you this, we're going to find you that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they're forcing you in your home. Now they're moaning about it because people are just generating their own community business. That's not acceptable. Codex Alimentarius is the governing principles in relation to them taking upon themselves this ability to control food, okay? Codex Alimentarius, look it up, came into force December the 31st, 2012. We scratched about it forever and ever and ever and ever. The Americans picked it up because they started to implement it in America. And people were getting arrested for collecting rainwater, etc., etc. So we've known about it for a long time, and now it's actually starting to... So what I'm saying is the Codex Alimentarius is the raft of principles under which this nonsense is going to go ahead. It continues. And other experts are also worried. Well, who are these experts, you know? It says many of them are selling food through social media. Well, we know Facebook are stopping people even selling eggs. You know what I'm saying? So you can see Facebook is part of this agenda. So you've got your McDonald's, you've got your Asda, the Waltons have just sold to the Rothschilds, fronted by these Islamists. because of course there are a lot of idiots in this country with this silly Islamic mind who would think it's a good idea to stop Whitey going into Asda. Well, to be honest, I don't have a clue. Asda's been poisoning you for a very long time. 2003, around that time when Walmart bought it, I catalogued the changes, the chemistry that were being introduced, etc, etc. Back in them days, Asda's own make were as good as, if not better than, the well-known makes, because it had less shit in it. The minute Walmart bought it, I categorised it for about 2 years of adding chemicals for no reason whatsoever. I went through the chemicals to what they do, etc, etc. I did all that years and years ago, and then presented it not on the internet but by paper to councillors, MPs and all other interested parties. Not that I'm saying the council or MPs were interested, but there were some that were. It says little food businesses are popping up like mushrooms in lockdown. Mushrooms? Put you in the house, in the dark. Yep, that's what happens, mushrooms grow. Said Julie Barrett from the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health. Who the fuck are them? And who are you, Julie Barrett? You've got to take note of that name. Okay, this woman's about to set off genocide. She's liable. She doesn't think she's liable now because she thinks she has the power to do it. But once this goes to the other side of this, these people are liable. Your doctors are liable. Everybody that's playing along in this nonsense game is going to be liable. That's what happens. Nuremberg trials taught you that. Taking orders, you thought you'd no choice, doesn't cut it. And as the Americans did so well, they absolutely annihilated the scrotums of every German prisoner they had in Nuremberg. Okay, that's what they were doing. So it's not a good idea to go against your own people and operate for the Bolsheviks, the fascists, the Nazis. Same thing, that's what they are. It's not a good idea. It's all right now, but it's not a good idea later. It says there are rank outsiders operating off the radar who think, oh, my mum can cook, and confuse cooking with catering. She added. They sell to locals on apps such as WhatsApp, Instagram and Nextdoor. So, basically, they're all concerned about closing down your ability to sell stuff on WhatsApp. So, we need to start to set our own little media setups up, and we sell it on there. Okay? Because if this has started now, where people are creating their own little communities and feeding each other, offering up trade for trade, getting off the fiat, that's a good thing, and that's the biggest fear. Most of all this raft of nonsense that we've had put in for the last 20 years is to give the councils the idea that they have the power to do this. That's what all that's about. It's the grabbing for power. And now they formulate it under Codex to start attacking you and tell you what you can and can't do in your own home with your neighbours, okay? You've got to see it like this, people. It says many families registered food businesses, meaning their hygiene arrangements are not checked by local authorities. Well, they've not done a right good job, have they? Not that many years ago, everybody were eating kebabs that were somebody's grandma from a local shop in Accrington that had been given great ratings by said local authorities. So, who are these people and why do you trust them? Why do you trust them? It says, but even those that do register are often not getting an inspection, despite new businesses usually being a priority. Why would you register and have them in your house? Nosying, grassing you up, seeing what you've got in your house. You know, you don't even want to let electricity meter readers in your house anymore. Everybody from these corporate bodies that is coming into your house, whether it's BT, whether it's meter readers, whatever, these people are intelligence operative fascists looking in your house, seeing what they can see and then reporting back. You really need to get a grip of this stuff. Even salespeople now are being profiled with this stuff. It says hygiene inspections ceased completely during the first lockdown, and since then a scaled-back operation has focused on high-risk cases. So basically they only want you to be eating kebabs, pizzas and supermarkets. Anything else is not allowed. Okay? This is where it's going, folks. Okay? Even your fish and chip shops here have sucked in the money, played the game, danced to the tune and made you queue outside. You know, what we have to start looking at is that's the system you don't want to be spending your money at anymore. And this home community is fantastic. You really have to start making a stand now and preventing them from moving this forward. Ends for eggs, you know, grow your own. This is what's going to be essential in this This year you want to start thinking in those terms and putting that into practice now, so you've got your own food. You know, you're able to feed yourself. It says, local authorities are using video calls in a bid to clear the backlog. They allow basic issues to be resolved and reduce the time environmental health officers need to spend on site. So that's Louise Hilton. Yeah? The little one that nodded to the copper, nodded to the donk shop, bump, I got arrested. Because I wouldn't stop filming it on a highway. This is the power they're grabbing to themselves, these little shits. All this is being supported in court, still not got a single piece of paperwork from the so-called honourable judiciary. Okay? There's no honour in whatsoever. These guys play like they're primary school children. But the consequences for you out there as a person can be severe. You know, they're children. You're going along with it because you don't know any different. Serious consequences, people. We have to start getting a grip of this now. But these video calls can never be as effective as in-person surprise inspections. Surprise inspections. Who do they think they are? These people. They are unable to reveal things such as ingredients past their use-by date or rat droppings under the cooker. Oh, sell-by dates. What's the ingredients? Well, I can guarantee there'll be no chemistry in it whatsoever, unless it's already in the basic products you're buying, such as flour, etc. So they're going to be a lot cleaner than any of the shite you buy in the shops. And you're going to know if your neighbour's hens are running around garden, they're free-range eggs. They're not being fed shite, they're not being injected with vet garbage, and that you're taking on board then as well. It says, indeed, a challenge posed by the new legion of at-home businesses is that even if a physical inspection is required, a 24-hour warning has to be given because it's a private address. So the surprise element is lost. So now they're trying to move against you having the ability to have a private address. Well, it's not private if you've got your postcode on. Every time you write a letter from now on, when you put your postcode at the bottom, put it in square brackets. Also, the number of your house, put it after your street name and put that again in square brackets. Okay? It's off the page. Alright? You've satisfied the postal service, which needs the postcode and the number, but you put it in those square brackets, it's off the paperwork. You're still a private address. They can't claim ownership of it because you've got your postcode, yeah? Really, when you're identifying where you live, you want to be using the coordinates off a map, so latitude and longitude. That is where you are, and it takes you off the land registry, it takes you off the postcode, it takes you off everything that they, like even your street name, they have a claim on your property because you've given the street name. They have a claim on your property because of the sewers under your house, because of the pipe work coming into your house. Do you know what I'm saying? Your electricity meter, you know they've got a claim in your house there because they keep claiming it to be their property. No, it's not. If something's on my property, it becomes my property. That's England. That's how England works. Britain, British Empire, takes everything off you. All right? It says resources stretched. About 44% of new food businesses started since the first lockdown are home-based, according to a new centralised online registration system used by nearly 200 local authorities, the Food Standards Agency, FSA, has revealed. The full picture will be clearer when all local authorities report their registration figures in the new financial year in April. The growth of at-home food businesses is a concern. Why is it a concern? The concern because you're not going to go along with the garbage. You're not going to take the vaccine. You're going to be able to feed yourself. You know, what part of your brain isn't functioning that you're seeing this, guys? Local authority resources are already stretched and many are finding it difficult to keep on top of the workload. I'm in council, we've got 20 million stretched. You're picking up the litter. You're picking up the fly tipping. You're picking up the old dog shit. They're telling you how to put it in your bins and you're paying for all that as well. Beep, 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 beam me up, Scotty. You see, I do often say retardation is what's happening. And people have a fit. But think about it in these terms. You're paying for services and you know you're doing them yourself. And if you don't, you get fined. So they're getting paid, you're doing it, and then they're fining you, you're paying them again. Now, not computing that in old school language is retarded. It's remedial. Not because I'm saying it, because it's a fact of English language. Now, It says local authority resources are really stretched and many are finding it difficult to keep on top of workload these own food businesses are generating, says Michael Jackson, the FSA's head of regulatory compliance. Regulatory compliance. Michael Jackson, who's this guy? Anyway. So the number of companies registered is almost 20,000. Why are you registering with these freaks? Why? The whole game of all this is to try and deregister, or at least learn how to operate with the contract that you've created, has been created when you register something. You know, your car, your V5 is all about the DVLA making a claim of ownership on your property, giving you back a V5 that says you're the registered keeper, and you've accepted that contract. You've accepted that contract because you think you're on the road. You think you're in a car and a vehicle. I'm not saying any more. You know, some people are starting food businesses from their own because they have lost work and need to generate income, including professional chefs who have been hit by the closure of restaurants. Sensible thing. If you're concerned about the public at large over this pandemic, you want to save their lives, why are you then why are you enforcing measures that are going to starve them to death? Again, English language, not connecting them dots, remedial, retarded. Not a grown-up. Primary school children. Can you see what I'm saying? And it's not me saying it. I'm drawing your attention to your own language. It says others are on furlough and have time to set up side hustles, takeaway eating, and the idea of cooking for neighbours in need has also become more common in lockdown. So we're not allowed to help each other. Can you see? This is about total control, nothing else. Total control, and you're handing it to them on a plate. As well as social media platforms, websites such as Olio and Cook My Grub also now allow these army of at-home food entrepreneurs to find customers selling everything from cakes to Sunday roasts. Inspection rules. If you register and create the contract, every new food business must register before it starts selling food. Once registered with the local authority, an environmental health officer can visit in person, and this eventually leads to an official food hygiene rating of 0 to 5, or pass-fail in Scotland. The business can trade prior to gaining its rating. So, if I'm selling food, I'll ask you who I'm selling it to give me a rating. I don't need them pillocks to rate anything. I don't want them involved. So the best way to get ratings is get ratings off them you're selling it to, them you're dealing with, amongst yourselves, your own community, without this freak show that wants to kill you by whatever method it can. Taking all your money off you, kicking you out your ass, because that's coming next, you know? Everything they're trying to do is going to destroy you. While they're claiming that the duty occur for your life is that important to them, they must inject you with a chemical concoction. You know, again, not connecting these dots. What does it mean? Go back to your English language. Look it up. It's not me telling you. I'm drawing your attention to. It says, however, the rating is vital tool for customer to gauge the safety of an establishment and can be a selling point. No, these are neighbours and family members helping each other. They don't need to see paperwork and numbers to know that their friends, the neighbours and the family are not going to poison them. We do know that the supermarkets are poisoning everybody because the products that they're buying are mass processed and are full of it. The meat that you're buying, the vets have been in there injecting every piece of shit they can get in there, which you're then eating as well. Your water systems are now poisoned. You know, even your tobacco these days is poisoned. It's full of poison. Everything has been poisoned. If we start to do it ourselves, only the base stuff we have to buy to make things is going to have a risk of poisoning it. But we're limiting the poison, removing poisons out of everything, lessens the effect of anything that might be in there. Your body is gangster. Your body's immune system is amazing. It gets rid of toxins. That's what it's doing 24 hours a day. And the biggest creator of toxins in your body, unbeknown to everybody, is when your body's dealing with oxygen. The most toxins that your body creates is when your body's dealing with oxygen. So it's not a good idea to be getting on ventilators and all this stuff. Oxygen is not good, it's too rich. It says, indeed, many new at-home businesses that are run well and take hygiene seriously are frustrated that they haven't been able to secure a rating yet due to the backlog. Well, oh, bugger you, you're in it for the money. You're not in it to help your neighbours, you're not in it for your friends, you're in it for the money. That's who you are, because you're saying you're frustrated because you want to have the ratings, you want the council to dictate terms, you want the council to be able to come in on a surprise visit any time and tell you to shut up, the shop, and there you go. No, they're not demanding it. They're not frustrated. The council's frustrated that nobody that's doing this is frustrated because the council are not involved. No, only the numpties want the council involved in anything that they're doing. The FSA described the situation with inspections at the edge of our risk appetite. Well, we don't care who you are. You're a bunch of shitbags anyway. Back in early December, before the current lockdown was announced, FSA, Food Standards Agency, look at what poison's in all your food. Where are these dips? Where are these dickheads? Taking the money from the corporate boys. That's what they're doing. That's who funds them. That's who they work for. They're not concerned about anything on a power they've not got. Our advice to people when ordering food online is to check that the business has a food hygiene rating and choose only those with a rating of 3 or above. This can be checked on our website, says Mr. Jackson of the FSA. Look, you all know these restaurant price thingies are garbage. You know it. You know. If a consumer has any doubts about the food seller or food product, they should report them to the local authority. No. If you're doing it as a community, just don't buy it off them anymore. They'll either upgrade the shit or they'll cease. That's how it used to work. That's how it should work. You don't need Louise Hilton and other animals coming in and saying, well, you can't do that. You must should. I'm going to fine you. Who are you to fine anybody? Where sellers do not follow the rules, they may be fined, imprisoned for up to 2 years or both when you enter into contract, because that's the contract. What part of you don't you understand about contracts? And that if you're in a contract, it's binding. If you're not in a contract, it's not binding. As an instance, the contract of a soldier exists for soldiers. You are not a soldier. You're not bound by that contract. That's just an example. Each time you register, each time you go to these freaks, you're entering into a contract. Each time a copper comes at you, he's flipping you into contract. He's flipping into contract so he can do business against your person. The birth certificate, okay? That's who they're getting you to ID as. That's why they're arresting you. You've got to be prepared to be arrested. Get outside and be prepared to be arrested. Who gives a shit? Why are you scared of that? It's beyond belief. It says, where sellers do not follow the rules, they may be fined in prison or up to 2 years or both. However, others think the system itself needs a overhaul to protect the public. It's not the public they're trying to protect. They want you vaccinated and they want you starving. The law should be changed so that food businesses of any type cannot trade until they have been inspected and rated, says the CREH, Miss Barrett. So if you want to follow the Dougal on Twitter, you can do. I really wouldn't give them monkeys, to be quite honest. So there you go. Codex Alimentarius, that's something you need to look into, and it's been around for a long time. You'll be horrified at what's in it. And I mean horrified. The degree to which they're going to be able to tell you what you can and can't do is just beyond belief. Beyond belief, people. Okay? Now, what is going on, people are wondering? Well, I'll tell you what's going on, okay? When I were around them hoity toys back in the day, the average normal talk was, oh, if you're not earned $1 million, you don't deserve. So you think to yourself, well, deserve what exactly? These people, we've done everything for them. They've got the robots, they've got the nuclear power, they've got everything they need to self-sustain. And it's classed as a breakaway civilization. This is what they're calling it from themselves. And they're trying to bring you in, give you opportunity to come in. You're only in to serve the purpose. You know, if you want to know where that comes from, read the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. It's very clear what's crack is. You know, they were ruled of forgery. Not fake. They were ruled of forgery. What is a forgery? Again, comes back to using your brain. A forgery is a copy of an original. So a court ruled them of forgery, not that they were fake, that they were a copy of an original document. Okay, get it in your head. They're valid as them learned the protocols, because that is the 20th century in its entirety, and these 20 years that we have experienced so far on acid. All right. So Codex Alimentarius, have a look at. Feed each other, grow for each other, sell to each other, cook for each other, fix each other's exchange labour. This is the only way communities are going to survive while this shower of Nazi Bolshevik shits are hovering all around you, all over you, and forcing you into the arms of the corporations that are going to enhance this and going to enact it and starve you to death. So there we go. Just a bit of a warning there, people, that you really need to nip this in the bud yourselves by carrying on and expanding this cooking from home, feeding each other, growing your own food, and chickens, ducks, anything you can get your hands on. Cow even. Get yourself a cow. Milk. You know what I'm saying? Goat's probably a wiser choice if you want milk, because they're smaller. There we go, folks. So just a little bit of a heads up on the games afoot. And this really does need to be taken seriously, because you're going to have soup kitchens in a bit, and you have to sign in with these food banks. Evangelicals run it, and you'll get 3 handouts when it gets set in, but you'll have signed an intervention order to say that if they deem you can't look after your children, they take them off you, and they'll give you 3 handouts and then deem you unfit to look after your children. You know, I'm not joking. I'm serious. You need to start to take this on board and start being grown-ups now, and stop running around like little cowards, little primary school children who are blaming everybody else bar your own choices. You know, you're making these choices. You are responsible. You will take what comes. You know, you're running out of time. If you're a coward now, before the jackboot, there's nothing that's going to help you at all. Nothing. So with that, I will say, till the next time.